Minister, TUSLA recently launched its new National Childcare Information System. This new centralised system may well improve quality and efficiency through improved sharing of information. However, TUSLA has admitted it did not complete a privacy impact assessment prior to the launch. And when asked about this, they responded on one of their social media accounts that a data protection policy will be prepared on this as soon as is practical. In correspondence with solicitor and privacy rights expert Rossa McMahon, TUSLA said, and I quote, "A PIA was conducted during the project and a final PIA will also be completed in due course. This is a breach of the General Data Protection Regulation and our own Data Protection Act, and also completely ignores the notion of privacy by design, which is so fundamental to the GDPR. Is the new centralised ITT system live and operational? And was the Minister aware of the lack of a completed data privacy impact assessment prior to its launch?"
Deputy, when the National Childcare Information System, or the NCCIS, was being developed, TUSLA carried out a privacy impact assessment in 2013. This preceded the requirements of the General Data Protection Regulation, or GDPR, which came into effect in May this year. The system was also the subject of design and security considerations prior to its national launch last July. Following the original privacy impact assessment, TUSLA is now progressing a data protection impact assessment in line with best practice, and it is hoped to complete this by the end of this year. The NCCIS is an extremely important technology solution for social workers in child protection and welfare services. The system allows social workers to record the case history of every child who's the subject of a child protection or welfare concern, from the point of referral to case closure. I regard it as a vital part of TUSLA's work to protect children. The NCCIS has the capacity to facilitate the integration and sharing of information on child protection and welfare cases between TUSLA areas where appropriate. The development and national rollout of the NCCIS has enhanced working systems for those working in child protection and welfare services, and I am happy to have secured the funding for the introduction of this system. TUSLA is prioritizing the progression of its ICT strategy, and the NCCIS is the first step in realizing a modern, efficient, and integrated service for children and families throughout Ireland. The principle of a data protection impact assessment in the GDPR is for organizations to consider data protection risks in the design of new systems. I am pleased that TUSLA is carrying out the assessment at the earliest opportunity, but I believe the priority is to ensure that the NCCIS is fully operational so that it can help to protect vulnerable children. TUSLA has advised that future modules of the NCCIS, when developed, will be subject to data protection impact assessments, and as part of the training provided on the introduction of the NCCIS, TUSLA staff have been trained in the use of safeguards in the system in order that appropriate data security and processing is maintained. I want to ensure that we meet our obligations under data protection legislation, but I make no apology for prioritizing child protection measures. The safety and best interests of children come first.
Deputy Wallace is 1 minute.
Minister, I realise that the project was in the making before the GDPR came into being, but is TUSLA's privacy impact assessment now a box-ticking exercise? The Rape Crisis Centre immediately expressed concern at TUSLA's statement about the lack of a PIA. The GDPR, Minister, and specifically Section 76 of the Data Protection Act, refers to data protection by design and by default. Section 35 of the GDPR and Section 84 of the Data Protection Act specifically state that where a type of processing is likely to result in a high risk to rights and freedoms, the data controller shall carry out a data protection impact assessment prior to carrying out the processing. Data protection safeguards must be designed into services and products from the earliest stage of development. So, Minister, there's 500,000 kids on these files, and one could be forgiven for suspecting that they actually don't take this as serious as the GDPR would actually be recommending.
1 minute.
I want to be clear. TUSLA is not in breach of GDPR in terms of the NCCIS. The system is fully compliant with the current legislation. The Data Protection Impact Assessment in progress at present was started in early 2018 and is due to finish by the end of the month. In advance of the GDPR regulations coming into effect on the 25th of May 2018, 12.5 of the 17 TUSLA areas were using the NCCIS system. The remaining 4.5 areas went live over the following 2 months, with all 17 areas fully live by the end of July 2018. A data protection impact assessment is a requirement of the GDPR, as you've indicated, Deputy. They are legally mandatory only for processing operations that are initiated after the GDPR implementation date of the 25th of May 2018. And they're particularly relevant when a new processing technology is being introduced. And what I'm indicating here is that they began a protection impact assessment in early 2018, and they're due to be finished by the end of the month. And I guess I want to finally, ask you in response a question to you. Are you seriously suggesting that I should put data protection requirements above the vital need to protect children at risk? I think the TUSLA, as I've indicated, has begun that in early 2018 prior to the GDPR coming into place, and they're continuing that, and that is good practice.
Thank you, Minister. Deputy Wallace.
Yes, sir. It's disingenuous to suggest that I would recommend that they put children at risk in any form. But I mean, I'm wondering, have TUSLA learned anything from the lessons of the HICWA probe ordered by yourself, Minister, in relation to their disastrous handling of the allegations made against Sergeant McCabe? TUSLA's head of project management has stated publicly in relation to the new IT system that TUSLA intends to keep, and I quote, all data in its childcare database in perpetuity, and then obviously it will work out a new policy and remove data if it has to. Yet the GDPR has a clear storage limitation principle, and the same principle applies in any case under the old Data Protection Directive and our own previous 1988 and 03 Data Protection Acts. Personal data should not be retained longer than necessary. I mean, can you confirm that personal data that's no longer required will be deleted?
Deputy, I will ask those questions to TUSLA or my officials rather than say absolutely I can confirm that now, because I think it's important to be exact and accurate. And with due respect, I mean, I asked you the question about, placing, would you be, placing the protection of children at risk, because that's what you were asking me. And I guess what I'm, in terms of the GDPR, and I'm indicating that, one, they are not in breach. Two, that in fact they began the process of an impact assessment prior to the finishing of the final and full rollout of this operational system, which is going to enable the protection of children to be more effective as we move, and already has, as we move into the future. And so I think, in terms of the way TUSLA has been responding in relation to this, is adequate. At the same time, and you do raise the issue of the HICWA investigation, indeed, there were serious issues and concerns that were identified. The board, the chief executive, and myself have been working hard to put in place, and they have put in place, an action plan that is going to be implemented in order to ensure that those the systems that need to be changed and reformed will be put in place as we move forward into the future.